this feels inspiring, it feels hopeful. This is what an ACE-aware nation feels like. When you leave here, fairly shortly this afternoon, it will be over to you to take out this energy. Because if the people who get it are here, we have a lot of other people out there who we need to help get it. So our next speaker to kick off this afternoon's session is going to tell us a story about how a private company is doing that. Darren Burns has a really interesting job. His job is to recruit people with criminal convictions to come work in his company's shops. That is his mission. He works with Timpson Group, and they have gained a real reputation in the country for what they call an upside-down management structure. And they seek to make employment of the most marginalized people in society into a success. So Darren Burns of Timpson's is going to come and tell us how they have created that success. And can I tell you, he has come all the way from Liverpool today to share his story with us. Darren, welcome to Scotland.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed your lunch. I won't be offended if anybody falls asleep, because this is probably one of the worst slots to have. I'm very pleased to be here. So thank you for that introduction. Very kind. So I'm here today to talk about our approach as a business to diversity and inclusion in the workplace. But I think before I go on to talk about that, it can be very useful just to set the scene in terms of who we are as a business. There may be some people in the audience today who aren't really familiar with the Timpson Group and what we actually do. So I'll just do a couple of minutes about our business and how we came about it. So Timpson was founded back in 1865 by our current chairman, John Timpson's great-great-grandfather, William Timpson. And all those years ago, we had one single store in Oldham Street in Manchester, where we used to manufacture and repair shoes. Over the years, we've managed to diversify and add lots of services to our repertoire. So the services that we now provide people are shoe repairs, key cutting, watch repairs, engraving, photo ID, etc., etc. All essentially these really niche jobs that people find very handy. Over the years, we've managed to add lots of other businesses to our portfolio. So in 2003, we acquired Mr. Minute, who are our only UK competitors. In 2008, we acquired our photo businesses, Snappy Snaps and Max Spielman. And in 2014, we acquired Johnson's the Cleaners, so we're now the largest dry cleaner business in the UK. We also have a presence in the Big Four supermarkets. In addition to that, we have a chain of barber shops and a number of pubs and restaurants throughout the northwest of England. We've become the largest service retailer in the UK. We employ over 5,500 colleagues up and down the country and have in excess of 2,500 outlets. So not bad for a bunch of old cobblers. However, what I'm really here to talk about is the Timpson Foundation, which I'm very, very proud to be a part of. So the Timpson Foundation was founded by my boss, our CEO, James Timpson, back in 2002. James was invited with a number of other local business leaders to an open prison in Warrington in the northwest of England. It was James's first time visiting the prison, and if truth be told, he didn't really know what to expect. James was shown around by serving inmate, a young guy named Matt. Matt was very intelligent, very articulate, and James liked him immediately. I thought he made a great addition to the Timpson business. So probably a huge breach of security, and I apologise for any prison colleagues in here, but James gave him a business card and said, Matt, when you get released, give me a call, I'll see if we can get you a job. 4 months later, James did receive a call. It wasn't from Matt, it was from Matt's mum, reminding James of his promise and asking if he would still give Matt that job. James was good to his word, and James brought Matt into the Timpson business. I'm very pleased to say that Matt is still with us today and is one of our most successful foundation colleagues or ex-offending colleagues. So from that moment forth, James realised if there's one really good candidate like that in the one small prison in the northwest, surely there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people like Matt who just need that opportunity, just need that second chance. So from that moment forth, we began to proactively recruit ex-offenders into the Timpson business. I'm extremely proud to say that we are now the largest employer of ex-offenders in the UK. Certainly one of them. Currently, about 12% of our entire workforce is made up of people who we've either directly recruited from custody or who have an offending background. And that roughly equates to about 650 people. However, in reality, we've got a lot more than that. People naturally fall off that list of being classed as an ex-offender or a foundation colleague, as we refer to them, after 2 years service. So what that means is we estimate we've got approximately 1,200 people throughout the business in various roles who've joined us straight from prison. So that leads me to the point of kind of how we do it. So we've got 4 main streams of recruitment with foundation colleagues. The first one is probably our most successful stream, and this is a scheme that we use called bottle or release of a temporary licence in Scotland, daily lease. Typically the way this works is that we will identify we have a recruitment need in Liverpool, Birmingham, Manchester, wherever it might be in the country, and I will strike up a report with the prison governor or the prison resettlement manager and say, I'd love to come and interview some of your men or some of your women for our local vacancies. We go in, we normally interview maybe 12 men, 12 women individually, risk assessment at point of interview, and then the interview continues as normal, very informal kind of affairs. And all we're looking for in our business are people with big personalities. And whilst admittedly that's very subjective, we like people to be chatty, outgoing, confident, people ultimately who can provide great customer service. Once the interviews are finished, our strike rate is pretty good. For every 12 men or women we interview, we usually choose about 4 or 5 for positions on bottle. These individuals will then leave prison every day, do a full day's work in one of our network of high street stores, we pay them massive living wage, and then they will return to prison in the evening and get locked behind the door. And that can continue for the last 2 years of somebody's sentence. So we believe it's the safest way to reintegrate somebody back into society and follow a long prison sentence. And again, it's just basic things which might not even occur to you, but when you consider that I might employ a lifer, somebody who's maybe served 16, 18 years in custody, things have changed a lot since they went to prison. So by them coming out of those in a safe environment, they can have that slow kind of integration back into the community, and it pays dividends both for them and for us. Selfishly as a business, we get to go and report these people, we know what they're about, we know if there's any additional support that they might need, and we get to offer them a job when they get released. So we're big fans of both. Our second recruitment stream in the foundation, quite a quirky one, probably one of my favourites to be honest. We've got a number of Timpson and Maxfield and training academies up and down the UK, and I think the best way to explain our academies, essentially if you think of a high street store of Timpson, what we've actually done is picked up the whole operation and we've dropped it inside the prison grounds. So rather than the men or the women working on the surgery, sweeping up on the wing, making tea, coffee for the officers, doing things which aren't really vocational and which aren't going to lead to any realistic possibility of working on release. Instead, they'll turn up in our all singing, all dancing training academy with Timpson uniform and a Timpson name badge, and we teach them all our skills in service. We teach them how to repair shoes, we teach them how to engrave, we teach them how to take photo ID. We can't teach them to cook keys for obvious reasons in a prison. Security and heart attack is It's right, one day we'll get there. But not only are we sort of teaching our prison colleagues valuable skills, but we're also continually assessing their attitudes and behaviours. And the vast majority of people who leave our academies end up working for us post-release. And we will meet them at the gate, we give them a travel pass, we give them a uniform, and most importantly, we give them a job. Interestingly for me, when you speak to our prison colleagues who have been to one of our academies, the feedback we get is that they love the kind of familiarity. We go to great lengths as a business to replicate our high street stores. So essentially what we do is we take the space of the prison and we Timpsonise it. And by that I mean we have our Timpson carpets, we have our Timpson graphics, we have our Timpson POS, we have a till with Monopoly money, we have all of our merchandise. And if any of you guys were sort of blindfolded down and taken to one of our academies, you wouldn't know you're in prison, you'd think you're in a Timpson store on the high street. And what our colleagues tell us when they leave prison from an academy is that it feels like a warm hug. Essentially, when they leave prison, they've got that continuity of going out to a familiar workplace. And again, we have huge success with that. And the vast majority of people who've been through an academy end up staying with us for 2 years or more. Our third recruitment stream is that we interview people who are serving stolen sentences for positions upon release. And this is usually because the prisons they're in are in too high security category, so they can't access ROTL, or they haven't got an academy. Typically, I was just discussing before with a colleague that what we find is women in prison often are subjected to these very short prison sentences, which can be incredibly damaging. And again, anecdotally, they can't back this up with any evidence, but what do the women I speak to in custody have committed offences which are even less serious than their kind of male counterparts. So essentially what we think it comes down to is sexism by the judiciary. And I think the inference is that if a man was to commit an offence, let's call it a violent offence, an assault in a pub, for example, they may well get a community order, a 100-hours community service. Whereas if a woman was to commit the same offence, they will often get a short prison sentence because the inference is that they should know better, being the supposed fair and sex, which is obviously absolute nonsense. So when you bear in mind that women are often the linchpin of the family unit, what we find is that these very short, sharp sentences have a devastating impact. Often they can result in children being taken away and placed into care, accommodation can be lost. So all we can do, unfortunately, with these people serving short sentences is go in, interview them, assess the suitability for work, arrange to meet them when they can be, give them a travel pass, give them a uniform, and give them a job. And our fourth and final recruitment stream is essentially Timpson and Simonis with being ex-offender friendly. We've been doing this now for over 20 years and we've got a pretty good reputation of giving people an opportunity when they leave prison. We also work very closely with lots of other agencies such as police and probation, lots of third sector organisations, and we regularly take referrals. But for me, what I'm probably most proud of in terms of our recruitment journey with ex-offenders is the fact that people who do have unspent convictions feel confident enough and bold enough to apply for the usual channels because they know they won't be judged and they won't be discriminated against. So, who do we employ? Again, touched on this before, but we employ people with big personalities. Unfortunately, we realised long ago that not everybody in prison is work ready. Unfortunately, probably about 1/3 of the prison population are good to go in terms of coming out and working and making a real difference. The other 2/3, very sadly, have got lots of real complex needs and issues which need to be addressed before employment can be a factor. We realised long ago that essentially prisons are a cross-section of society. The people that we meet have just got so much to offer, and essentially prisons are viewed by us as a huge pool of untapped talent. So, why do we do it? This is probably the most important question. The reason why we do it is split broadly into two main groups of reasons. The first one are the kind of societal reasons. We're a big business, but we're a big business with a social conscience. Helping ex-offenders very much fits in with our culture of kindness and compassion. We genuinely believe that people deserve a second chance. Reoffending costs the UK taxpayer £18 billion a year. We believe it's our duty to do anything we can to break that offending cycle, divert people away from committing crime and instead put them to gainful employment. Statistics show that 61% of prison leavers will reoffend within 2 years of leaving custody, and that can be reduced to 19% of people who have full-time employment. However, it's worth noting that whilst employment is a key factor to reduce reoffending, it's not the only factor. First and foremost, people need somewhere to live, and they need a support network around with family and friends, someone to care for them, somewhere to love them. But once these other things have been ticked, then employment can be a key factor. For us, it's simple. By offering people a second chance, everybody wins. People with convictions win because they're not being sent to prison to serve long prison sentences. Families win because they're not losing loved ones to long prison sentences. The taxpayer wins because the taxpayer burden is reduced significantly. But perhaps most importantly, we all win as a society because fewer crimes are being committed, our communities are safer, and ultimately there are fewer victims. However, it's worth noting that Timpson are a commercial business, we're not a charity, we're not going to shy away from that. And the reason that we employ ex-offenders is because it's good for business. And thankfully it is, because if it wasn't, I'd like to be out of a job. There are 13 million people in the UK with a criminal conviction more serious than a driving offence. So that is roughly 1/6 of the entire population. So for us as a business to throw that huge swathe of the population on the employment scrap heap and assume that they're worthless, inherently dishonest and got nothing to offer, just doesn't make sense at all. And while many businesses, as many as 75% of employers will openly admit to discriminating against people with convictions, we see past that and instead focus on what people can achieve in the future and not what they've done in the past. In our experience, the people that we recruit from prison are very hard-working, they're very loyal, they stay with us longer than colleagues that recruited from other streams. They're even statistically more honest than people that we recruit from more usual streams. They're also more cost-effective to recruit, and they bring a great deal of life experience and a great degree of personal resilience. And what I mean by that is prison, I think, has been established today. It's not a very nice place to be. So anybody who can navigate their way through a tough prison sentence and come out stand on the other side is going to be able to kind of cope with anything we can throw at them as a retailer. So that kind of steel resilience is a big sort of plus for us. We're also able to attract some very talented people who might not apply for Timpson in a normal sort of course of events. And often people are able to turn criminal tendencies into entrepreneurship. And again, be like cheeky chappies who maybe at one point wanted to be doing deals with bags of illicit powder, and now all of a sudden they're doing deals with our customers for second price shoe, shoe fares, and a second bunch of gear, so it all kind of fits. So some of you may be thinking, how can I be so confident that our approach works? And the reason is simple. I've been through the entire process. 10 years ago, I was a detective inspector at Merseyside Police. Me and two of my colleagues took quantity of cannabis during a drug raid with the intention of selling it on. I was immediately arrested, I was charged and sentenced to 4 years in custody. I lost everything, my job, my pension, my partner, my home, my self-respect, my dignity, and in many ways, I was probably one of the worst types of offenders. I had a great upbringing, I didn't have any childhood trauma to speak of, everything was great. Ultimately, an opportunity presented itself, and the uncomfortable truth is, I succumbed to greed. I thought this is a quick way to make a few quid. I didn't want to work out like that. Certainly not one of my finest moments. Perhaps worst of all for me was the impact it had on my family and friends, the embarrassment, the stigma, the upset. To this day, it's still one of my biggest regrets in life. Prison was a huge shock. It was a very dehumanising experience. I remember the really sort of powerful and overwhelming feeling of hopelessness whilst I was in custody. For me, I really didn't know what I was going to do when I got released. I thought nobody's going to employ me. Who wants to employ Ben Copper? People are obviously going to look at me and think he's trustworthy, he's got nothing to offer, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. However, my luck changed when an officer put up a poster on B Wing, where I used to live, saying that Timpson had come in to recruit. I'd never really heard of Timpson before. I think the school was there a couple of times, but other than that, my knowledge was very limited. I put my name down for an interview. I was interviewed. I was lucky enough to be offered a position on Local. And in the last 6 months of my sentence, I worked out every day in the Timpson branch, repairing shoes and cutting keys. Quite badly, so if anybody's got a dodgy shoe, I apologise. Much better now. But then things changed. I got released. I had a meeting with James Timpson, our CEO. I explained to James my experience, my education, the time I spent in the police. And James said, "Oh, that's all well and good, go away and work with the branch." So I did for the 12 months. James then came to visit me whilst I was working in a branch in Liverpool and offered me the job I've got today. I have an absolutely amazing job and I get a real kick out of being able to help people who are often at the lowest point of their lives. And when you think of offering people a second chance, the sort of people that I speak to serving stolen sentences, it's not actually a second chance, often it's the first chance. It's the first positive thing that's ever happened to them. And by us going in there and showing them that trust and giving them that opportunity, giving that way to sort of divert away from crime and into a quote-unquote more regular lifestyle, I get a real kick out of it. So effectively, we've got lots of colleagues, including myself, who are living proof of the transformative power of employment and ultimately that good people can do bad things. So, thank you.